What truly happens to a civilization when it encounters an extraterrestrial society for the first time? According to the Akasha-Interviews, many civilizations in the universe have already experienced this moment, and their worlds changed completely afterward. This video explores how other civilizations experienced their first contact and why Earth's first contact could become an extraordinary event. Hello, my name is Frank Harfer, and in the Akasha-Interviews I work as an information medium, documenting and publishing questions and answers about consciousness, humanity, and our place in the universe. With that said, let's turn to the question. Entry A. 277. What happens to our society once first contact has taken place? Part 5. The type of society you know also exists on other planets. Many peoples had this form of society and experienced their first contact within it. We will now report how beings on other planets with a form of society similar to yours experienced their first contact and what happened afterward. We must first give a brief explanation regarding the following statements so that everyone understands what we will now report. The beings who experience the following first contacts are particularly similar to you. You are the species with the largest ego, so all other peoples on foreign planets are naturally always more peaceful than you are. Technologically, they were similarly advanced to you, but we also say that you are technologically quite advanced, and therefore it is time for you to carry out first contact so that you become more peaceful and your violence does not spread to other planets. The first people are the Marsiver, whom we have already mentioned. This people even lives in your solar system and has the well-known Mars as its home planet. They were very warlike, but not as brutal as humans are today. When the people saw the spacecraft in the firmament, they already knew that first contact was approaching because they had previously had contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Only with you humans is everything concealed. With other extraterrestrial peoples, knowledge about extraterrestrial civilizations is widespread. But when the gigantic spacecraft appeared in the Martian sky, the shock was still quite great. Curious, as most beings are, the fear faded, and everyone only wanted to know who these extraterrestrials were. On Mars, the atmosphere had always been different, so the extraterrestrials stepped onto the Martian surface with breathing masks, which caused a great deal of attention, because many could not understand why similar beings would need such things. It quickly became clear to the people why. Since much knowledge had already been exchanged before the official first contact, the population on Mars was already excellently informed. Meetings also took place before the official first contact, and several Marsiver flew along in the spacecraft, which strengthened the bond between the native species and the off-planet visitors. When the date for the official first contact was announced, the visitors had already been present for quite some time. And we also mean that the sight of the gigantic spacecraft had become every day for the native population. However, a meeting between a native inhabitant and a visitor was certainly not every day, and such an event was always worthy of a global headline. The Marsiver longed for the contact and held celebrations for the visitors, although the visitors did not physically remain among them until then. The spacecraft always flew low and slowly over a celebration. When the desire for change within the population became extremely great, the visitors announced the date for the official first contact. Every society that faces a more advanced society will automatically want to change because it can see that its social system is not sufficient. Many beings think about their social model and want something to change. This desire for change gradually spreads to the entire population so that governments find themselves in a dilemma. They know that if they want to remain in power, they must change something. But these changes will never be enough to appease the population, so even the powerful eventually begin to long for changes, even if they do not understand how to accomplish them. This is the moment the visitors wait for, because now they can offer the help that the governments urgently need. During all this time, the visitors had not had any obvious influence on the native population, and yet the transformation of society began solely through their presence. When the date is announced, all demands for change immediately end, because society knows that once first contact has taken place, the desired changes will automatically occur. All worries will be over, because they see the change in the sky every day and know that the technology and the social system are vastly superior to their own. When the population has calmed down and everyone is only waiting for the day of first contact, something wonderful also happens. On all planets, it has happened this way. It was like this with the Marsiva, and it will also be like this on Earth. All beings will feel a deep connection. The beings will look at one another and feel a calming atmosphere, because all beings understand that first contact is the event for this species that will go down in history and that no being present will ever forget. If you already know months in advance that the greatest event in your human history is approaching, this event will enter the universal human memory through all the people present. All descendants who are born after the event have this knowledge, so to speak, stored in their genes, so that they know what happened on that historic day. This is how it happens with all species that experience their first contact. When the Marsiva carried out their first contact, everything around them changed within a short time. What do we mean by that? When a society is supported by a more advanced society, the less advanced society will always orient itself toward the more advanced one and adopt everything it can integrate into its current society. If the visitors do not have to work for their livelihood, then the visited beings will want to know what must change so that they can live the same way. Many technological tools were made available to the Marsiva, and they were able to integrate the technology into their environment immediately. The visitors adapted their technology to the standards of the native population so that energy generation for the planet was secured. When the Marsiva no longer had to use resources for energy production, most work disappeared, because technology was now developed in which energy was no longer an obstacle. Incredible construction machines were designed that essentially did everything by themselves, and industrialization advanced rapidly. But now, without plundering natural resources, or at least treating the environment much more gently. However, the Marsiva were not environmental terrorists like the humans of Earth, so not as much needed to be changed here. The Marsiva developed quickly in the early period. What do we mean by that? When a society develops, it changes, for better or for worse. The Marsiva developed for the better, just like all other peoples who experienced first contact, and without exception. The system of the Marsiva changed rapidly, and we mean that the Marsiva were doing much better, although there are always groups in a society that do not follow the general trend. For this reason, a splinter group formed that lived its own system far away from the main society. This parallel society existed for a long time until it also dissolved, and its former members were taken into the care of the main society. The Marsiva stand as an example of peoples that experience first contact, but there are also exceptions, which we will now report. On a planet, not in your solar system, there was a colony of extraterrestrials that was discovered by a human species. This human species had long mastered space travel, but for unexplained reasons had not yet experienced its first contact. Many things had not happened at the proper time for this people, so they traveled to other planets and on one celestial body encountered the outpost of non-human beings. The astonishment was great, and we must say that it was a shock for this people to find a non-human race near their home planet. Like most human races, this people reacted immediately in a defensive way, and many diplomatic attempts to de-escalate the situation almost caused a war. This people experienced its first contact differently, and all, truly all, beings learned from it, so that for a very long time, first contact has been planned well in advance for a people on a planet so that such accidents do not happen again. The governments on the planet united in order to act together against the supposed enemy. We have often said that you on Earth are the most extreme expression of a human race. But when it comes to protecting their species, all races are ruthless. The war was ended before it actually began, but the result was weakened because the first contact, by which we now mean the official first contact, was promising for the people but far less successful than usual. In order for first contact on Earth to ensure that you become more peaceful, preparations were already made long ago that will ensure that your first contact will be very successful. This day will be stored in the memory of humanity, and everyone will say that this was the day when everything turned for the better, because it always happens that way. We will add the following. Your first contact will even stand out among all first contacts, because you are a special human race that does not actually represent a single race, but several races live on your planet, and together they are the people of Earth. Quite a few extraterrestrial races contributed their genetic heritage to the people of Earth, so that you are your own human species that descends from many extraterrestrial races. We will add the following. When different human species produce an offspring, that being becomes a new human species. This happens again and again, because love knows no boundaries. But you as a people are an extraordinary human race that as a whole represents an entirely new race, because you have received a mixture that exists nowhere else in the universe. When we speak of these races, they are exclusively human races that are represented everywhere within you humans through their genetic heritage. Many of these races are only waiting for the moment when humanity on Earth receives its first contact, so that they can announce that you are not only humanly similar, but closely related. The extraterrestrial peoples see you humans as their descendants. This connection is always felt by these beings whenever the topic of Earth is discussed. They are connected with you on a very deep level. These extraterrestrial peoples will celebrate the day of first contact just as you will on Earth, and they are already looking forward to officially introducing themselves. We will dictate one more part in which we will list further examples that are also very interesting. Look forward to it. Important information will be found within it. This entry, along with many others, is available on my website. The content is published in German, but modern browsers make translation straightforward. You'll find a direct link to this blog entry and further helpful information in the video description.